And good morning, Kitchissippi. I have a lav mic that I've been able to figure out how to get connected to my iPhone to create an audio track. So just trying out this morning a bit of a narrated ride. I'll ride maybe a little bit slowly. I'm not a fit man, so I don't want to get too out of breath. We'll see how the wind noise is. But I imagine that with the lav mic, it'll be slightly better audio. I'm on my way to work at City Hall. This should be about a 20-minute ride or so. Ordinarily in the winter around this time there would be a little bit more snow in Ottawa, but we've had a warm winter. There's no snow left, so I'm on Wellington Street this morning. Ordinarily, if there's a lot of ice and snow on the road, I'm one block to the north of me. That's just off to my left on Armstrong Street, but Armstrong is the less interesting of the ways to go. So I'm on Wellington, which is the main commercial main street that goes through Hintonburg where I am. The number of cyclists who are out in the past couple of weeks is significantly higher than it was in the depths of winter. We're at Parkdale in Wellington here. I'm gonna let this truck go. Fairly typical driver behavior there, a lot of impatience as people try to get up Parkdale Avenue. Parkdale leads to the main highway, the main east-west highway in Ottawa called the Queensway. It's a little tight through Wellington Street. Thankfully there's not a lot of parked cars, so I'm able to take advantage of some of the parking lane, but in the evening this can often be a pretty tight fit. Just to my left here is the Spaniel's Tail, which is a new bookstore that has opened in Ottawa. We have actually two new bookstores in the ward. There is Spaniel's Tail and Westboro Books. So I've been spending some money on books of late. Just off to my left again is the Record Center, which is an institution in Hintonburg. The Elmdale Oyster House, that used to be a popular bar. There's a few stops along here that are part of sort of a regular walking route for me. Coming up on the Hintonburg Marché. Very popular spot for groceries in the ward. It gets pretty tight through here. In general, I find that drivers are used to cyclists coming through here. Buddy here was not entirely patient. The rule in Ontario is that you have to give cyclists a minimum of 1 meter when you overtake them. So this guy here, he went fully over into the other lane, which I very much appreciate. And I'm just going to deke down to Tom Brown Arena, where I'll hook up with the main segregated cycling infrastructure in our ward. Idaho stopping this. Just up ahead, you'll see the construction, the train going by, the bus. Love to see it. That's Scott Street. And they're in the process right now of building a new cycle track on the south side. There's been a long-standing multi-use path on the north side, but that's been added to with a south side cycle track. I think once that goes in, I'll actually I'll start to use it from time to time rather than the streets, particularly in poor weather. Kind of Idaho'd that stop as well. Yeah, so this is Scott, and just to my right it turns into Albert once it crosses the O train tracks. Buddy's behind me, a little impatient. So these are some paths that were opened as part of the Stage 1 LRT. So we're coming up on Bayview Station. You'll see up ahead Bayview Station line, the line, I guess, 3, or line 2, sorry. This door isn't open yet. They're in the midst of accomplishing kind of a renovation and expansion of our older diesel train, commuter train. Hopefully that's open this spring or early this summer. And we'll pass underneath line 1. The current train line only goes maybe, I want to call it 800 meters to my left, the Tunney's Pasture Station. And I have to say, I mean, I love the train. Cyclists coming from the north down the Trillium Path. Good chance that they have just used the William Commanda Bridge. It's a new pedestrian link the city renovated or had to do a bunch of life cycle maintenance on the old rail bridge that we own. And while they did that, they added some decking to the bridge to make it an active transportation link. But it's not maintained in the winter. So with the snow off the bridge, there's a battle back and forth right now between cyclists and walkers in the city. I'm expecting that to open next week. So off to my left here is an area of Ottawa called Le Breton Flats. It is slated for a massive new residential, commercial, office development. It's owned by the federal government. It'll be well served by transit, obviously. And I think most of us are hoping that the Ottawa Senators, our NHL team, will build their arena here. Right now that's in Stittsville and not particularly easy for anyone to reach. The redevelopment is slow, but it's coming. Love seeing the trains. My bell is broken. On your left. I have to get that replaced. This is such a busy cycling and walking corridor that I think, most pedestrians have an idea that there's a steady stream of cyclists coming by them. This is a fun corner here at Booth. A lot happening there. A decade from now, a lot of residents of Ottawa won't recognize it. Just to my left is Pimisi Station for the LRT. And then we're coming up on a construction. You can see it in the green cladding. Oh, BMW will watch this one. The green cladding, that's our new central library, slated to open in 2026. Wildly exciting for me, and it'll start to draw a bit of a nexus into this Pimisi area. This is one of our main festival areas. Blues Fest is held here, our big music festival in the summer. And you'll see the residential construction going in. There's Booth Street leads to the Chaudière Bridge. There's a bunch of there's an island, an old factory complex in there that's owned by the private sector, and they're developing a fairly progressive system. And I'm just going to wait here because we've got the emergency vehicle going through. And we're good to go. Heading over. All right, so this is a relatively new cycle track. The roads are being completely reconfigured through this area. And they built this new cycle track in front of the new library, which we're just coming up on. There'll be a bunch of cycling infrastructure as well. That's going to lead to a bunch of new cycling infrastructure that is in the downtown core. But one of the things, I find that this hill lasts forever. I'm going to go slow so I don't get too out of breath, but we used to have a very short, sharp incline. And you could just kind of stand on the pedals and go. Now it's this longer uphill. And as is happening right now, it's a bit of a long light. You don't want to miss it. You see the countdown timer go. And for me, certainly the temptation is to try to boot it up the hill, but like I said, I'm not a fit man. It's interesting this morning. It's pretty quiet with respect to cyclists. I'm not sure. It's about -1, so it's quite warm. I'm actually a little overdressed this morning. So I'm going to get here. We're at the corner of Bronson and Albert, and I'm going to be heading off to the right to hit Ottawa's original segregated cycling infrastructure, the Laurier bike lane. But they've now built this cycle track that you can see veering off to the left, and that leads to some new north-south infrastructure that's getting put in place. What's still to be determined is how all this is going to hook up with Wellington Street, with a lot of discussion around, closing Wellington Street to traffic. And I'm on to the OG infrastructure. One of the things I love about this very intense neighborhood, and there is still a lot of towers going in. You can see the cranes, but we've just passed the dog park. And up on the hill, you can see the community garden. As far as I know, those will be there forever. And it's critical that they are. Like I say, you can see across Laurier here. Like I say, you can see all the cranes in the sky. Thousands of residents being added. So I know it's slow with respect to seeing cyclists out this morning, but when I take a look at the fresh powder that's on the ground, obviously myself and this cyclist are not the first to go through this morning. As it continues to warm up, I expect traffic will get fairly heavy. There was a point before the pandemic when the amount of traffic that was coming through here was almost 50-50 between bikes and cars. So this is the original Laurier bike lane. It's just made with pinned curbs. And this was originally a wildly controversial project. A lot of these towers around us are residential. They had street parking for visitors. They have garage entrances. And the removal of all that was controversial. Today, City Council is pretty much on for segregated cycling infrastructure as a part mostly of our rebuilds of our streets. We have new policies to put cycling infrastructure in on streets like these. So starting to see a few more cyclists this morning. It's still slow, but it's lovely weather. Got a nice tailwind this morning. It's coming from the west, apparently around 20 kilometers an hour, gusts into 30. So it's ideal cycling weather. We've got should have an advanced green here to get us through the intersection. Oh, sorry, no, they got the advanced left. The nice thing about the bike lane in the morning is that Ottawa tends to have a prevailing westerly, and so any wind tunnel effect is at my back for most of this ride. In the evening it's from the front, but in the evening I'm better prepared to deal with it. By and large, I think the bike lane works. Most people are aware of it. We do get folks blocking the bike lane. You'll see people regularly pull in, Uber drivers, delivery trucks, people picking up friends and family. Coming up on Bank Street. So this is always an area, the vehicles who are turning have to yield, and many are not familiar with that rule. So they start turning into as soon as the intersection is clear to pedestrians. Not watching for it, so I always slow down, keep an eye on their tires, see if they're turning. Not everyone signals. Like Buddy here almost certainly is not looking. So just to my right is O'Connor, and it was another sort of early cycling infrastructure project in Ottawa. It leads for a few kilometers with a segregated bidirectional cycling track. It's a great connection from this, the Laurier bike lane, which obviously handles a lot of the east-west traffic in the city, through to Lansdowne Park, which is one of the big entertainment venues in Ottawa. I'm wondering if this has been swept lately. It actually looks, oh no, still some gravel. But it looks pretty good. This gets pretty grody in the spring. There's a lot of dumping of snow into the bike lane, and it can be filled with debris. Stop here. So this is a very busy intersection. Laurier and Elgin. Kitty corner to me is Confederation Park, which is one of the main federal urban parks, location for Jazz Fest. Well worth checking out this year. Just to my right and across the street is the Ottawa Courthouse. Oh, I've got that advanced cycling. It's interesting, despite the amount of traffic that intersection sees, I'm far more likely to be nearly right hooked, both at Bank Street and at O'Connor. I have a collection going of video of those hits. So I'm approaching City Hall now. Courthouse to my right, City Hall just ahead. And checking the flag. Yeah, green flag. So just, you can't quite see it probably, but to my left there's a refrigerated outdoor skating rink, which is still open, still nice and cold for that. The Rideau Canal barely opened, so it's becoming more and more popular. There's two buildings here at City Hall. On my left is the new City Hall, and on my right is the Heritage Building. It's the old Teachers College. And coming up, I'm trying to remember if I remembered my pass this morning. Well, I passed by quickly. I enjoyed that.